right, today it's APA time. Let's get in, let's get at. So here we go, sharing screen with you. I want to look at the best source, and it's APA at Purdue OWL. Purdue OWL it's an online writing lab that Purdue University's put together and been by far for years the place to go. And what I've done is simply Googled Purdue OWL or just OWL and APA sample paper. So again, OWL, OWL, and APA, literally the letters APA, sample paper. And here we go. Let's walk through just the idea of citations and formatting. We'll look at the cover page, we'll look at in-text citations, and we'll look at references. I'm going to save the abstract for another short video. So here we go. We see that we're going to have the title in bold at the top, generally a few, about 2.5 inches down from the top. I say generally. You're looking at that, variable as to what content you also have if you do have an explanatory author's note. You do have the page number starting on that particular page. So yes, page number on the cover page. All right, so this is in bold. Oftentimes in the academy, you do have a colon. So you have the main idea and then a colon of an explanatory note. So you have the title in its sort of synopsis and then a colon explaining further what it means or giving more detail. Following that are the authors, in this case, 2 authors, excuse me, the department that they're with, in this case, the department that the particular course is taking place in, all right? English 101, course name, Dr. Richard Teeth, the professor, and the date. Now, the author's names appear 2 lines underneath the title, and you do have the first name and the initial of the middle name and the last name. Just note that the instructor's name can also be professor if you're not sure. All right, let's move on. We do not have an author's note in the student paper. We do not have any more, hallelujah, no running header. If you don't know what that is, you are spared. All right, in this new edition, you don't need it. Let's go to the first page. So right after that cover page, you're going to have this appear. You're going to have the title again in bold and centered. And then you're just going to hit a return. Everything in the paper is double spaced. Just remember that, gets you through. All right, we do indent each of the paragraphs. And here we're going to get in a little bit into APA land of in-text citations. So the first thing you need to know about in-text citations is that you always want to introduce your author by the last name. And it's an 80–90% rule that because it's science-driven, social science-driven research, you're going to introduce them with a phrase and have their last name and the year of that particular publication by that author also scored there. So you'll see according to Thiel, and then in parentheses, the year of the publication, 2017, comma, into the quote we go. And note that the page number then anchors the particular citation. Notice there's a quote mark here, then the parentheses, then P for page number, or P for page, period, the actual page, 91, the parentheses, and the period. Note the period comes after everything, folks. It comes after everything. It comes after the quote, after the quotation mark, after the P period and the 91 for the page, and the parentheses, that closing bracket parentheses. That's where it goes. It does not go right next to the quote. Okay? If we're referencing a general idea, and you can see this is a paraphrase in this case, you've got Lewis, comma, the year, because we don't have a page number. We have the general idea of where and how we got that idea. Notice this particular citation comes in the middle of the sentence. So what it's saying is, hey, that first part of the sentence I derived, if you will, or I'm paraphrasing from Lewis. Second part, that's me, that's my comment. So it's a good thing to remember to go ahead and do that so that there's a clear partition. One of the biggest things in academic essays is understanding the partition between what you're saying and what your sources are saying, what's attributable to them and to you. Okay, so moving along, we see here this fact. One such measure, the student evaluation of teacher, has been virtually ubiquitous until at least the 1990s. obviously had to get that fact from somewhere because it's so specific. So we do see that anchored here with the parentheses, the last name of Wilson, the comma, a space, and then the year of publication. Note there's no quote mark, so there's no page number. If it's a general fact from the particular piece, that's good enough. When you're quoting, that's when we need the page number. All right, and again, we'll see that in full here. If you're quoting a number of, let's say, two authors, we're going to go ahead and use the ampersand between the last two names. We're going to take it from the actual publication title. So you might say, well, wait a second, aren't we supposed to do this alphabetical? No, we're supposed to do it as to what they call the lead author and the secondary author. So if that particular publication lists Remmers first, that's who gets the citation first. All right. As we can see, this is, we got a couple sources here that kind of compile. Often in science writing, what happens in a lit review early in the paper, you want to establish sort of the who, what, where, and why of major facts. You don't want to overwhelm the reader with 1,000 separate citations. But so what you do is you say, hey, collectively, all these different sources have talked about this. And you're kind of flexing that that's obviously important. And there are obviously many sources that support your particular pull of that fact, that point that you're trying to make. And to do so, we're going to go ahead and go with last names again, the ampersand between them, two authors. We see the comma, we see the year, but we're going to separate that then from the next source with a semicolon. Semicolon, now we go to Lewis, only one author, comma, 1996, semicolon, then Mikichi, comma, 1996, parentheses again, the period, locking down the whole unit, locking down the citation and the sentence before it. That period gets it all, if you will. All right, we can see now in the next sentence an example of a citation that involves a page number. So we have a direct quote from the source. We see the last name, we see the year, and then we have the page number, P period and a space and the page number 178, parentheses period. Most times, again, when you're introducing a general fact, you're going to use that lead of some kind of transition according to, similarly, consequently, comma. You're going to introduce the author of that source first by last name and then the year of that publication directly following. And that is sort of a lead into quotes and into material derived from that source. Just a general principle, and you can see that is ubiquitous in APA. Then anchoring, if you will, if it's a specific point, and we do have a quote here, we're going to anchor with page number at the end as need be. Again, we only need to list that page number only when we're getting specific bullet point data from a specific page. And it's really connected almost always with quotes, okay? So surefire way is just to say, hey, if I'm not quoting, I'm just simply going to go with this is good enough. Last name of author and year either at the end of the sentence or as a lead phrase into the material derived from that source. Okay, that's pretty much what you need there. Let's kind of look at ways that this can be done. And I want to use a pretty good source here for that. In-text citations. So when we have a single author again, we have this. But notice we only need the page number with the quote. Let's be real specific about that. Again, two authors we've gone over. If it's an organizational author, we look at the particular organization listed, a comma, and the year. Okay, works to three authors, we still keep all three in, but beyond three, we're going to use et al. I'm going to show you that in a moment. And then we go to personal communication. So this has changed, and this is an older form of APA. Still in my box, gotta update. All right. So now all you need is the last name of the author and the year. You don't need to necessarily say personal communication. Used to be also that you would have to tell the author or tell the person in the citations, especially in the references page, whether it was by email correspondence or otherwise. Personal communication now, if you will, in the references page covers all that. All right, let's go down. We're going to look at books and citations. We'll come back to reference page examples in a moment. And we do have a student paper here as well, but let's get back to this. So a couple more things we need to look at. There is an example of when you have a source that was cited in another source, how to do it. Just note that. Again, you can look this up. You can follow. It's page 2, APA, sample paper, Purdue OWL. Get you in, get you through, right? We have here a 1991 survey. I've got the date kind of embedded in the actual text. Don't have to kind of put it in parentheses then, right? We've already got that. We've got the exact facts, so therefore it needs a citation. U.S. Department of Education. That is the agency, right? It's a corporate group. Cool. Now here's an example of when we have more than 3 authors. It's when we go beyond 3 that we want to look at this particular point. So 3 authors or more. Now that I need to back up because I made a mistake. You don't want 3 authors in the new APA, and that's my bad. So hear this correction. Ding, 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 ding. It's 3 authors or more. So when we have 2 authors, we're going to use the ampersand. We go to 3, we're going to use et al. Okay? And et al is, I don't know the exact Latin for it, but it means and others, right? I believe that's a rough translation. Et, there's no period, al, and the period. It's Latin for more or other authors included. Boring with other authors, comma, 2017. Hopefully not the material boring, the actual author. Yes, indeed. Okay, good people. We're moving along here. All right. So that's the mainstay of citations that you need to know for in-text. Notice that when we do have subheadings, they're going to be flush left. There are going to be bolded in the title. And then if it's a 3rd level, we're going to italicize and flush left. Again, gives you all the information you need on that. All right, 4th level will indent. You can see here and goes on and onward. It will talk about tables. It will talk about how to cite and place the table. They work very hard to give you a sample that would have a lot of great examples of things that need to be done. And if they're not here, folks, you can always go to the official APA part of Purdue OWL where they'll explain exceptions and help you work through the particular source that you need to cite. All right, guys, I'm going to skip to the references page. Just noting here, I wanted to glide through just to show some of the visuals too, because I do think that's helpful to know or just let you know, yeah, they're here. Figure 1, right? They're numbered sequentially. And there's a 2nd level heading with illustration here is the actual title, if you will, briefly describing the content of the illustration. All right, and then a note are preceded by that if you need to kind of explain a little bit more, and that anchors, if you will, the illustration at the bottom of it. Cool. Also, tables so critical to science writing. Please look at this and how they're numbered and how they're presented. All right, it's exactly like figures. So you got table 1, 2nd level, italicized, and then underneath, we're going to go ahead and put note. If you got to bleed to another page, you do need these guys. You need, if you will, the column labels, and make sure you put those back up. All right. Appendices are a great way to look at sample items and get other material in. You can use tables, you can use figures, you can use appendices, and you can still use footnotes or endnotes if you need to or want to. All right. So what we're going to look at here now are the references. I'm not going to go through every one of these because it would be too long, and you can look it up. I'm just going to go through the mainstays. So here's a mainstay, meaning we've got 2 authors and we've got a journal article. Last name of the lead author, Ambuddy, initial of the first name, period, comma, and the other author, Rosenthal, comma, R, period. All right, and then the date of publication, 1993, the title. Notice the title doesn't have quote marks. Don't use them anymore. Always shifts. It's very interesting. The actual name of the journal is in italic font. And interestingly, the actual volume number is as well. Not the issue number, but the volume number. They always have to throw a little bit of a hokey spin here because if you look at it closely, the number is not italicized. Go figure. Pages, right? No P here, just the pages given. So look at the details, people. They're important. You want to look professional. The biggest thing that we need to know is the DOI. A DOI is a digital object identifier. And what it is, it's a permanent place on the web to be able to grab that source. So we know the web changes all the time, things flow, people cite, it's there, it's not, oh my God, can't get to it, broken link, we don't want broken links. So what librarians and people in library science have put together is the idea that we're gonna get a permanent link. We're gonna make sure you can get to that. And that's what these are. The only downside is that they can get really long. And so when they're really long, what we want to do is shorten them. And how do we shorten them? Well, we do so by going to a really cool service that's also one of these great ideas like the internet. People went in, and my God, it hasn't been co-opted or made by it hasn't been privatized yet. It's called Short DOI Service. And it's simply the URL is shortdoi.org. Shortdoi.org. That gets you to this source. So what it does is it basically lets you put in the original DOI name, submit, and it gives you a shortened version, right? And this is often, if you think of Bitly, which is a site that helps shorten links on Twitter, it's kind of the same idea, right? It's going to get us something short so we can just get it down without feeling like it's going to gobble up the whole page. Very, very important, folks. From now on, all online, academic sources, academic publications like scholarly articles require a DOI that's linked. So these are all hot link. Notice when I hover my cursor over the address, I can click on it and get to that, okay? So that's really important. Where is that? Well, it's actually anchored to all your academic articles that you get from databases. So it's there. And make sure you have it to anchor, if you will, each of your citations. Note that each of the citations is alphabetical, last name, and it could be by title or by organizational last name first. So we see here all these names. I don't know if we'll get to an organization. These are all actual folk. I don't know if I can eventually get to an organization. No, I don't have one, so we're not going to worry about that. We are alphabetical. We are using what's called a hanging indent. Just so you know, most programs, Microsoft Word has this built into it. It's a feature in Microsoft Word to actually design a bibliography, and it will actually ask you, do you want an APA bibliography? And so it will help coach you into what you need to do. Now, depending on your version of Microsoft Word, this can get a little tricky because sometimes its idea of what APA is might be the old APA. So use this particular sample as a good visual reference to confirm whether or not we got new or old APA. Same thing with those great citation machines. I say great, why? Because they work sometimes. They work if you've got to know how to double check, right? If you're not checking and you're just saying, well, I'll put in information, and you know darn well you're just putting in a few things and not enough, or you didn't have it and you're too lazy to go back to try to find, if you will, title or journal article or volume number or whatever, and you're punching out that thing, it's obviously going to give you an incomplete citation, right? That's pretty easy. But sometimes it will also punch out citations according to an older form of that particular citation. It's tricky. APA does have former versions that it keeps improving and changing because technology changes. Okay, fair warning, got it, work it. EasyBib, still working. Citation Machine, still working. I think Citation Machine gets you APA for free. EasyBib does not, at least that was as of a year ago. I have not checked back. You're welcome to use RefWorks. Please look at that, guys. Mendeley is another really good citation bibliographic aggregator. Basically takes all your sources and stores them, and stores them in a cloud that you can access at any time, so you can retrieve those sources when you're doing graduate work. It's got them all there for you, right? And you can punch them in, and if you sync, if you will, your word processing program, it'll actually pull those things right down and get them into your text. What's cool is as you're typing, you can actually start typing the citation in the body of your text, and it will just get in the in-text citation and automatically place the reference, believe it or not, at the end. So it's just an amazing way to work. Very good tool. Mendeley is one. I can't remember the other one. It'll come to me. Sorry, guys, but there's a really good one too. There's a couple mainstays, if you will, two major players in the private market that try to make this ubiquitous. And depending on what database you're working with, some of these are, if you will, native within the database themselves. All right. Anyway, guys, long and short, these are the most important things. Everything alphabetical, hanging indent, All entries, again, double spaced. And we still have pagination here all the way through the whole piece, right? We didn't start a whole new page or anything different. We do have references at the top in bold. This is the word. It's not works cited, folks. It's references. This is not MLA, Modern Language Association. This is American Psychological Association, a group that for sciences and social sciences is used and is used fairly ubiquitously now across the university. So that's why we're doing it in this class rather than Modern Language Association. All right, so it's bold. It's the word reference, references. If there's only one reference, it's obviously reference. All right, and everything's double spaced. We always have the anchor of the year up front. We have the rest of the information. Let's look at a book just to say we did that, right? Old school book here. So we see the name of the last name of the author, first and middle with initials, because Bloom is so common, we're going to use both. All right, and Engelhardt, MD, if we've got it, let's use it right first. And we see all the authors listed here. Notice there's no et al here, right? We're going to get them all with their full names. So make sure you have that information. We have the year that particular book was published with a period. That's our next chunk, if you will, of the citation. Then comes the title. And notice the title is, like many academic works, having that colon with a declension of further what the books or the subtitle. And then all we have now is just the publisher, guys. We don't say publisher. We don't have New York colon. None of that. We don't have the location of where it was printed. We don't need it because we have ways of, if you will, getting to the source really well because of internet world we live in. Wonderful. Yeah, and again, no page numbers here, guys, right? We got the DOI to anchor any kind of academic article, and we are good. That is it. That is all I'm going to do because I think that is plenty. All right, take care.